Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to rise today on behalf of my hard-working Richmond Hill constituents to speak on the Second Economic Action Plan 2013 Implementation Bill, or Bill C-4 as we all know it. Before I begin my comments, Mr. Speaker, I would like to reflect on some of the positive results we have already achieved from our Economic Action Plan. Many of these successes are included in my recent Richmond Hill report, which will soon be circulating throughout my riding. It notes that over 1 million more Canadians are employed today than at the trough of the recession in 2009. It points out that Canada has the best job creation record and the lowest debt level of all G7 industrialized countries, Mr. Speaker. And it notes that Standard & Poor's has again confirmed our AAA rating while highlighting our stable and credible policy making and highly resilient economy as factors behind this achievement. It also informs Richmond Hill residents that, as confirmed in the government's annual financial report, our country is on track to return to balanced budgets. By eliminating wasteful spending and ineffective government programs, we have enabled the deficit to fall by $7.4 billion from the year before. We remain on target to balance the budget in 2015, and a surplus of $3.7 billion is expected in the years 2015-2016. Best of all, we have done this without raising taxes, Mr. Speaker, or cutting transfer payments to our provinces and our territories. In fact, we have done the complete opposite of that. We have nearly doubled transfers and have cut taxes over 160 times. These actions have led to a federal tax burden on the average family of $3,220 less than our Conservative government took office, Mr. Speaker. This also means that government revenue as a percentage of gross domestic product is at its lowest level in over 50 years, a record that is once again the best by far amongst the G7 countries. My constituents are pleased that our efficient and effective government is putting money back into their pockets, exactly where it belongs. I mention these things, Mr. Speaker, because this track record of success becomes the backdrop to our actions going forward. Our plan is clearly working, and the implementation measures contained in Bill C-4 will build on these achievements. For example, C-4 corrects many of the tax avoidance activities that have crept within our system. It proposes measures to reduce international tax evasion, aggressive tax avoidance and tax planning, tax loopholes, and clarifications of the tax rules. It proposes stiff new monetary penalties and criminal offenses for persons that evade taxes by using electronic suppression of sales, or ESS software, to falsify sales records. It also provides penalties for persons found to manufacture, develop, sell, process for sale, or offer for sale ESS software. Tax evasion and tax avoidance entails a real fiscal cost to governments and taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. They are unfair to businesses, unfair to individuals who play by the rules. Mr. Speaker, our government will not tolerate tax cheats. Canadians want integrity in the tax system, and the proposals in Bill C-4 will deter this type of activity. I am also pleased to highlight some of the additional job-creating measures in Bill C-4 that the good people in my riding, like the Richmond Hill Chamber of Commerce, are very pleased about. For example, the Employment Insurance Act will be amended to allow the employment insurance premium rate to be frozen at 2013 levels for the years 2014, 2015, and 2016, Mr. Speaker. This one measure will save Canadian businesses over $660 million in 2014 alone. And going forward, will ensure that EI premiums are no higher than they need to pay for the EI program. Rates will be set according to a 7-year break-even rate setting mechanism. This will ensure that EI premiums are set no higher than necessary over that 7-year period. By enacting these changes, we are promoting stability and predictability for employers and employees. Mr. Speaker, we believe that small businesses are the engine of job creation in Canada. In Budget 2011, to help stabilize that sector and to recognize the challenges they faced, we instituted a temporary hiring credit for small businesses of up to $1,000 per employer. The credit provided needed relief for small businesses by helping to defray the costs of hiring new workers. It was so successful in contributing towards job creation and retention that it was extended in 2012, and today I am pleased to say, as we all know, that Budget 2013 will once again extend and expand the hiring credit for small businesses to 2014. Bill C-4 proposes the technical requirements to make this into law. It will also enhance the credit by increasing the overall threshold from $10,000 to $15,000. An employer whose premiums were $15,000 or less in 2012 will be refunded the increase in their 2013 premiums over those paid in 2012 to a maximum of $1,000. This job-creating measure will save an estimated 560,000 small businesses in our country $225 million in 2013, which in turn can be reinvested in their firms. Mr. Speaker, Bill C-4 also proposes measures to eliminate the inefficient and ineffective tax subsidy labor-sponsored venture capital corporations. Experts like the OECD have told us that these vehicles have distorted the market for venture capital, lowered the average quality of deals, and limited the supply of equity to non-traditional industries and newer companies. We heard that advice and we acted, Mr. Speaker. Labor-sponsored venture capital corporations will be phased out and replaced with a new venture capital program that will do more to create jobs and economic growth in Canada. The phase-out leaves the credit at 15% when claimed for a taxation year ending before 2015, reduces it to 10% for the year 2015, to 5% in 2016, and fully eliminates it in 2017, Mr. Speaker. To further encourage businesses to invest in clean energy generation and in energy-efficient equipment, Bill C-4 proposes to expand the classification of clean energy generation equipment eligible for the accelerated capital cost allowance rate of 50%. I know many businesses in my riding will benefit from this expanded classification, and this, combined with all the job-creating measures in Economic Action Plan 2013, will help create jobs and economic growth in the great town of Richmond Hill. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, Canada has experienced solid job creation since the implementation of our Economic Action Plan. Today, in addition to having the lowest unemployment rate since 2008, the Canadian labour market is also experiencing a high labour force participation rate. This means that a high proportion of the population of 15 and over in Canada are either working or actively seeking work. This is an indication that the unemployed are seeking work and finding it. In contrast, the United States participation rate has declined sharply and now stands at its lowest level in more than 35 years. In Canada, this has caused some imbalances between unemployment and job vacancies. Some Canadian firms are experiencing difficulty in hiring, including the skilled trades in sectors such as mining, oil and gas extraction, and construction. Employers are also having difficulty hiring highly skilled professionals in science-based occupations such as engineers and architects. On the other hand, some Canadians are unemployed because they do not have the right skills for available jobs in expanding sectors and regions. Budget 2013 takes several steps to solve this dilemma. It announced that the government will transform skills training in Canada through the introduction of the Canada Job Grant as part of the renewal of the labour market agreements 2014-15. Another key step is found in Bill C-4 through changes to the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, which will allow for the creation of a new and innovative expression of interest, or EOI, immigration management system. I see that my time is running out, Mr. Speaker. I just would like to conclude by saying that I could elaborate at length the many benefits to Canadians contained in Bill C-4. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the House to support the swift passage of Bill C-4 so that Canadians may begin to reap the many benefits that it contains. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments?